Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, there's still reverb on my microphone. There we go. A good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on your region. Welcome to the 61st Piano Hangout live stream. Hi, Amber Dragon. Amber Dragon says, so glad to be back home from college so that these streams aren't at 5 a.m. anymore. Yeah, maybe I should do a live stream one day, like in the middle of the night here in Cheeseland, and see what happens. See if certain people can come that usually can't because of the time zone difference. Hi, Isaac. Welcome. Hopefully the technical gremlins are on vacation today. We'll see what happens. I've got a close eye on them, but you never know. I'm back on my previous browser, so which was quite stable before it wasn't. So let's hope it's stable again. So how's everybody doing here in Cheeseland? It's gray skies, but miraculously there's some sun for some reason, which is kind of poetic, I guess. This morning I had a rehearsal doing some folk music, and tonight I'll have a performance doing improv piano for improv theater. So I've got a musical day, which is doesn't really happen that often lately. So very glad to have that. Hi, Elias Skyhawk. Dragon says, how are you doing, Mr. Tim? I'm hanging on. I'm doing my best. Some of you might know it hasn't been the easiest year for me, for all kinds of reasons. But I'm glad to have some stuff to do today. It's mostly been more difficult to kind of start the day and get some inspiration for musical or like business kind of ideas, do acquisition and stuff like that. It's easier to just do stuff that already has a concept, so to say. So doing a live stream, that's very doable because I know how to prepare it and I can just put it on and then a live stream happens, right? Or conducting my choir or stuff like that. But really thinking of new concepts and stuff has been difficult due to all the distraction lately. And I'm kind of looking for some new piano inspiration, I guess. Was on a Silksong kick, of course, as you might know. Piano and choir stuff. It's been kind of quiet on the Zelda front, of course. So kind of looking for a new muse in that sense. A new video game music muse. Good morning, Nerd Alex. Isaac says, can you play Northeast Frost Street from Kirby and Forgotten Land? Yes, I think I remember that song. That's a cool soundtrack. I'll look it up and see if my computer doesn't blow up, okay? And as always, if there's something weird from an audio or video point of view, please let me know. I'll see what I can do. Northeast Frost Street. It's a really good soundtrack and surprisingly great game as well, even though Kirby isn't my usual cup of tea. I'm going to change a little bit about my equalizer because it's a little bit shrill. That might be better. All right. Let's see if it comes back to me. All right. Nice. Then we're looping back, I guess? Yes. Yeah, fun track. There's some Mario Galaxy in here. Mario Galaxy vibes, which is always good in my book. Yeah, fun. It's a fun track. I always like tracks that kind of deceive you what key they're in. So this one starts on an F, but it's immediately moving it to a G chord, or at least there's a B in there, which means that immediately you're not sure in what key you are because a B isn't in the key of F. That would have been What's that we're doing? So it immediately makes it brighter because we're playing it natural instead of flat. But you kind of keep searching as a listener to where the root is, right? And it only happens on that A minor, I think. And then we start moving again. We're going to sort of a D minor. Yeah, cool. Cool music. Emma Dragon says, computers not blowing up would be preferable. Yes, it would. This computer is a few years old, but it's been very reliable. It's mostly been software problems. My strategy is not updating anything. A while back, I went to a friend's house, and they had I think it was like a 2009 iMac still running Snow Leopard, so an ancient operating system with an ancient version of Logic, and it was just so quick and so smooth. And I was like, why do I even bother updating my computer at all? Like, if it works, it works. And especially if you're doing music, you have like a gazillion plugins and all kinds of complicated software suites. If it works, don't touch it, don't breathe on it, don't look at it funny. Just keep using it, if at all possible. Nerd Alex asks, what has been your favorite song from Silksong to playing your wind instruments? That's interesting because I've done piano stuff and I've done choir stuff, but I haven't really done too much Silksong on my whistles. I've been trying some Celtic Hollow Knight stuff recently. I've been working on a Green Path arrangement and a City of Tears arrangement. And I'm kind of looking for a new angle on those because I've done so much Celtic stuff, and I really love doing that. But I kind of feel like sometimes I'm perhaps saturating my audience on that front. So I'm trying something new. It's like Celtic but with choir. I'm not completely sure yet how I can make it work, but it's interesting at least. Let's see if I can find some Silksong of my Silksong arrangements, and then I can take a look at what would be nice to play with a whistle. Da, 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 da. It's a little bit Xenoblade, right? That's kind of a JRPG Mitsuda kind of thing. What's a nice whistle kind of thing to do? Jeep, 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 jeep. High halls, of course, would be great. Probably Shellwood as well. But let's do high halls. I'm not even sure if I did. I don't think so. If I did a whistle improv on high halls, I don't think so. I'll look up my my recording of that, and then we'll give it a go and see what happens. I always kind of appreciate like short whistle breaks in these piano hangout streams. Definitely interesting. Let's see. There we go. Oh, come on, computer. Computer, let's get real. Okay, something's not right. I'm not hearing any music. Oh, there we go. Ooh. I need some reverb on my whistle. need some more reverb. That one's kind of nice. Kind of nice to whistle. Maybe I'll put on the original because maybe that fits even better than with piano. Don't you love reverb, by the way? High Hall's Gauntlet, nope. Just the music, please. Oh, that's the extended version. It's definitely a good candidate for a Silksong Celtic. I've been kind of struggling with the City of Tears one because it's City of Tears is so important, right? As a piece of music and a location in an important game that I don't want to make something subpar, but it's kind of hard to add much to City of Tears. But this felt like a natural fit, which was great. Silksong. And when I first played it, I was like, this is similar in level to Hollow Knight, but I guess I prefer Hollow Knight. But the more time passes, the more I'm kind of feeling like they really are as good as each other, which is just insane. That a team of a few people makes two games that are this good and fascinating. Just incredible stuff. Smallest Test says, Kirby was great, except when the lion turned into a flood monster from Halo, and I thought my 3-year-old sitting next to me was going to have nightmares for a week. He was fine. Yes, I had the same feeling. My kid, how old was he at that time? Like 9 or... No, it's way earlier. I think he was like 7 or something. But because there was an edge to the Forgotten Land, that's why he found it interesting. And he played it more than I did. I think if it was just Kirby, he wouldn't have felt it to be as interesting. But there's something under the surface there which he really appreciated as an interesting person. Let's just say that. So he was fine as well. But I was shocked when that happened. As an adult, I was like, what kind of game am I playing right now? Amber Dragon says, have you heard anything from Genshin Impact? There's some really good pieces within its soundtrack. They're just so hard to find with how many there are. Yes, a friend of mine described it as it's really a music company that's made a game on the side as well. But I have heard some stuff. It's been like super impressive, and at the same time, I haven't really known what to do with it. Like as a person making arrangements on YouTube, I'm not really sure how much I can add to that, I guess. But it was a reference for the Cloudheim soundtrack at points. So from an academic point of view, I've analyzed some stuff. It's like fantastic music. It's incredible. Always warms my heart to see games with music budgets that are, let's say, on par with other other elements of the budget. Like the Final Fantasy VII Remake series comes to mind, and Mario Kart World comes to mind. You know, games like that. Just soundtracks that never end, and are also incredible stuff. So yeah, cool. Isaac says, when you checked out the Expedition 33 OST, which track was your favorite? I think the quiet ones were my favorite, but that happens often. I'm often more attracted to the quiet pieces than to the loud ones, especially when they're quiet and melodic, like High Halls. High Halls is one of my favorite tracks from Silksong. Quiet and melodic, that's my jam. So that's, of course, Alicia and one of the first tracks from the OST. I've kind of forgotten what it's called. I'm very sorry to say. It's like is it Lumiere? Maybe it's Lumiere. But I really like those, and I thought the big and epic stuff sure was big and epic and impressive, but the quiet things resonated with me most. Yeah. Smallest S says, how long did it take you to learn to play that whistle? So we had one just lying around the house in the toy bin for the kid to toot on, but it was kind of beat up. Like generations of kids have been chewing on the thing, so it didn't really work anymore. But I tried flute, like a regular flute, and didn't really click with me. So I think I just felt like maybe I want to have one of those whistles because it only has 6 holes, so it looks like I can play it. But then that hasn't been chewed on. So I asked one for my birthday in 2018, I think it was. One of the plastic ones. And it's very easy to learn a tune on that. It went like in a few months I could play reasonably well for my own purposes. I think if I would have to play like an actual tune on it, like a quick jig or something, that'll be a challenge. But as I said, the slower melodic whistle stuff that I also love writing, I can play on those whistles very well. So it's definitely very doable. It's just, I'll illustrate. So this is a small one that fits on the camera, perhaps. So it's only got 6 holes. but you can play an octave, but only in one key. So it's not like a real flute where you can play chromatically. So if you have a whistle in D, which is this one, the big one I was playing just now was an F. So you have a few keys you can play. And it's just like all the holes open. It's a C sharp. Blowing a little bit harder, all the holes. Then you have the second octave, etc. And that's a range of a whistle. It's like 2 octaves and maybe a little bit if you're being fancy. But then you can play plenty of stuff on it. That was difficult. So this is more like a traditional tune, like it's from Zelda, of course. So that takes some time to play. That one's also difficult, but it works super well on whistles. And I have a few of them. The smallest one is the one in F. This is not the one that got chewed on, but it's the same kind that got chewed on. This is a really cheap one. You can find it everywhere. I barely use it because it's so high and a little shrill. So like in the background to play an octave above something, that's what I use it for. My favorite one is the one that I use for high halls. That's a low F. It's a low F. I really love this one. It's particularly great in the lower octave. And then the lowest one I have is a low C. These are, I think it's aluminum. This one's also most difficult to play because you have to use piper's grip. Because the holes are so far apart that you can't play it with your fingertips. So you have to use your, what's it called in English? Like not the tops of your fingers, but the middle part of that. And then you have to do that with both hands. This one's even so big that you might even use your pinky for the final holes. This is like amazing for moody, kind of moody stuff. Yeah, so they're diatonic, so that means this one's in C, so you could play in C, C major, or an A minor, and then you can be creative. You can sort of do D minor, you can sort of do F if you want to bluff a B flat. You can play like half holes, so you only cover it partly, and then you can play some chromatic stuff if you're being handy. But it's more of an extra than something that's easy to use. Yeah, so that's my whistle my whistle story. So I definitely recommend those plastic ones. Like the PVC. Oh, sorry, the PVC ones are very affordable, and I've used those for higher Highlands and higher Highlands too, and only got the fancier whistles later on. So those work very well. They're a little bit less rich in the overtones, but that's to be expected. This one was like 70 euros, and the aluminium one, this is low D, the low C was like 200. So they're still not super expensive. Yeah. Sort of. Yeah. Lovely stuff. Then, of course, we also have to do. I think that little part from the that might be one of my favorite things, like in the world. Just so carefree and just sparks joy, I guess. Hi, Monty Renee. Thank you, Catharsis. There was some talk about Genshin Impact. Unfortunately, I know nothing about it. So I'll leave the philosophical discussions to you all. Man, Skyward Sword is like the biggest gaming surprise of my life. I expected to find everything that I found annoying about modern Nintendo, and instead is one of my favorite things. Skyward Sword's so good. We need a 120 FPS version, by the way. That would be amazing. Let's see. Swear to My Bones from Persona and Peripatetic Peregrination from Genshin Impact. Let's see what happens. Let's not jinx it, but my computer is surviving. Survivage. My CPU usage is at 400%. I'm not sure if that's healthy, but as long as it works, I guess. Swear to my bones. My bones. I might have done that on stream because it's marked as watched, and I remember some jamming to Persona stuff in the past. Okay, I'm ready for some janky English. Love a slow jam. Slow jam. Yeah, no worries, Nerd Alex. There's this is the 61st stream, right? So I've done some songs I've done 61 times. So repeating stuff is fine. It's different every time if I play it because I love myself some improvising. Cheep cheep-a-jee-joo. Peripatetic peregrination. By the way, I'm not opposed to janky English. I use janky English myself. But I am usually very particular about lyrics. I have a tendency to be quick to cringe with lyrics. Silksong's lyrics, by the way, are fine. Classic lyrics. I really like Jabber, or what's it called? Constructed languages or stuff. It's more interesting if you don't really understand it, but you get the feeling from the sounds. Yeah, a little bit vague, but yeah, I like stuff like that. Peripatetic. Are those words, by the way? Are those words? There's flute covers of this, by the way. That's why we like the Zebra Bonanza theme, Smallest Tess says. I think this is piccolo flute. Yeah, this is really cute. This is impossible to play on a whistle because this is like very like classically oriented. So there's stuff going on like chromatic melodies in there. So that means that we're moving between notes in the scale, and that's on a whistle. That's impossible to do because you only have 6 holes, which makes it easy to play, but also limits your options, right? So you cannot play stuff like that, except if you're like an amazing whistle player. It sounds like that meme, the Jurassic Park flute meme. No, well, I get why you say that, because the timbre, this is a piccolo flute that's used here. It's kind of similar to the smaller whistles. Yeah, hit the high note. Ben McBride asks, have you ever learned the main theme for Smash Bros. Brothers Melee? I haven't. Thank you as well for the suggestion, Amber Dragon. It's super catchy. I'm kind of staring at the cover art for this track. Kind of fascinated. Snap out of it. Okay. But of course I've heard it like in videos a gazillion time. The main theme for that, but I couldn't play it right now. I'd have to hear like the first few bars. Oh, this is the opening. It's something different than the main theme. That's Brawl. I'm sorry, folks. I'm clicking wrong. La 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 la, yeah, la 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 la. That's a jam too, by the way. This one. Ooh, this is fun. It's a cool ending sequence there. There's like some spicy note in there somewhere. That's interesting. It really reminds me of the Twilight Princess soundtrack, obviously, because it's the same sound chip, and also a little bit of Star Fox for some reason. I always have a soft spot for. I think that's my favorite one out of the Smash Brothers main themes. I really like it. I don't think the Ultimate one it didn't click with me much, but this one, it's a jam. Smallest Taz asks, I wanted to know if you've heard any of the new Star Fox songs that were released for the upcoming game or from the last Mario movie. Yes, there was a Nintendo Music special release of the Star Fox remake music. And I gotta be real, I always kind of preferred the original Star Fox, especially musically. Like musically, that original Star Fox game is like, it's one of the best, like from a sound engineering standpoint and compositionally as well. It's like a top 5 Super Nintendo soundtrack to me. Corneria, of course, is the most well-known one, but like it doesn't sound like an orchestra because it's Super Nintendo, but it feels like an orchestra for some reason. It's really fascinating what they're able to do. And unfortunately, due to a legal battle between the composer and Nintendo in the 90s, that composer never returned to game music. But man, it's really, 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 really amazing. And then, of course, Star Fox 64 soundtrack was written by Koji Kondo and Hajime Wakai, which are like two legends. But I never really liked it. Which, it's a little bit of sacrilege because people really love Star Fox 64. I thought it was okay. It wasn't really what I... The original Star Fox is like so psychedelic and trippy and weird. Probably because they had like 4 polygons to work with. As a matter, not literally, but as a matter of speaking, like the polygon budget was like hilariously low because it wasn't a Super Nintendo. They had that sub-processor in the cartridge, but still. So it was very abstract and kind of trippy, and I really adored that in combination with just the music going ham. It's great. I think it holds up better than the Star Fox 64 soundtrack. However, the arrangements that the Star Fox 64 remake that's coming out next month, those arrangements are really, really good. Like suddenly I'm like, this music actually is really nice if you arrange it like that. Because doing orchestras on the Nintendo 64. And there's a few songs where it sounds like Zelda. Because it's the same composer, obviously Hajime Wakai has worked, I think, on every Zelda game since Wind Waker, perhaps? I think Majora's Mask was mostly Koji Kondo and then Toru Minagishi as well. And then I think Wind Waker onward, Hajime Wakai was on just about every composing team for Zelda. And you can hear that on those new arrangements. That's, in particular, the Sector 6 is like, that's straight up Zelda. It could come from Tears of the Kingdom. And I mean that in a positive way this time. I'll look it up because, man, that's good. That's so good. It's not a real orchestra, by the way, but it's a very good like synthetic orchestra. It was a lot of work to make it like that. Or a Skyward Sword, perhaps even more. This makes me very happy. This sounds like Skyward Sword to me, and I have no nostalgia for Skyward Sword because I was already like 55 years old when it released, but still makes me tear up a little bit to hear this because it's, man, I don't have nostalgia for Star Fox 64 either. It's just music like this in the next Zelda, please. Just amazing stuff. So I'm feeling, I have complicated feelings about the new Star Fox game. Like I really wanted something new or a remake of the original because 64 has already had like a gazillion releases. Also, the character designs are weird, but I've come to appreciate them doing disgustingly weird character designs. It's kind of cool in its own way. I mean, Slippy looks like Slippery. Anyway, that's another story entirely. But this soundtrack, man, it sold me on it. I'll gladly give Star Fox 64 another go for the millionth time to see if I like it this time. But holy crikey, this music, it's totally worth it. Anyway, Star Fox, the original, 120 FPS, low polygon remake. Give those tracks the same treatment. And whew! Yes, do check the Super Nintendo OST out, Star Fox. It doesn't make sense how good that is, and it's such a shame he never got to make more game music afterward. And I haven't seen the last Mario movie. I've heard some snippets of music from that. They reference Star Fox 64 and the original as well, which I appreciate. Ooh, absolutely, Aaron. Anything you'd like me to play for him? Hey, Aspiring Hero. Welcome, it's been a while. Aspiring Hero and Lazarus, both. Oh my gerb. It's an invasion by the patrons. Nice to see you here. Small Stas says, yeah, this song makes me want them to make a Warriors game based off some of the Super Smash roster. Maybe I'd play that. I probably would play that. I'm very bad at Super Smash Brothers, and also the screen shake doesn't play nicely with my eyes, but I love the concept. It's Coneria, obviously, but there's like so many other great tracks from the soundtrack. Fortuna is also really nice. Yeah. Good morning, Tall Ghost. Welcome, Smash Highlights. Gudu Gudu, hello, hello. Of course we can go parasailing. Let's do it. All right. Hi, Neo. It's gonna be your birthday soon. 10th birthday. Woo! That's amazing. I remember my 10th birthday 200 years ago. But I wish you a happy birthday. I hope you have a good time. Hope you have a good year, your 10th year of life. And I'll play you some nonsense parasailing. Ahem. Okay. Okay, let's go ham. Yay! Nonsense. Happy birthday, Neo. Yeah. What's that again? Oh, that's Dolphin Shoals. I should practice that one as well for a stream. Tim, the Lady Gaga of the game theme. You're welcome, Aaron. Aaron says he's been playing Star Fox 64 lately too, so it's fun that that came up naturally on the stream. Oh man, Star Fox. Oh well. I'm a real Nintendo nerd, 37-year-old man, gushing over Star Fox or orchestral arrangements. That's who I am, and that's okay. That's fine. You gotta live a little, right? Good morning, Tolgos. Tolgos says, I've beat Silksong Act 3 since the last music stream I joined, I think. Well done. What an experience, right? Like, it's arguably way too difficult, but it's also totally worth it. It's so weird. I'm not sure how they do that. Not sure why I can stomach Silksong. I can't stomach other difficult games. Emma Dragon says, going parasailing is my favorite activity. I have to do a pop filter on my microphone, by the way, because I'm popping like crazy. Pop. Maybe I have to use like a pop filter that actually works on this little microphone. I'm using a small diaphragm microphone lately because then you don't have the chunkers microphone in front of my face. Smallest Test says, most of my subscriptions on YouTube are 30 to 40-year-olds playing Nintendo music, so you're good. Tolgos says, yeah, it's such an incredible game, Silksong. Act 2 was stunning and the final boss took me 2 hours. Man, like the twist at the end of Act Two, I was like, well, let's not talk about it too much because don't want to spoil it too much. But man, that's quality, right? Smash Highlights has an interesting question. Lazarus, I'll also get to your suggestion. I haven't heard music from Vrieren. Not sure how to pronounce that, but I can take a look. Smash Highlights asks, what was the tell for you that Star Fox orchestral arrangement is synths? The brass and the strings; those are two things that I that kind of stand out. But I was listening to it just now with you on, and I think there might be some live instruments in there for solo parts. Let's see what I can. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is. I might be wrong, but as someone who uses orchestral virtual instruments, like the way you do like stuff like what strings are doing here. Is that there's different. How do I explain this? If you want to play long notes and short notes on a, let's say, on a violin virtual instrument, you have to switch modes. You're switching between legato mode, for instance, and then a spiccato mode or a runs mode, because you cannot play all strings part, because a violin is a very versatile instrument. So you cannot play everything on one patch, because the virtual instrument cannot translate a piano input into a violin one-on-one, because they're so different. So you're switching modes. You're switching from long notes, switching modes. You're switching from long notes mode to a short notes mode to make it like super general. And you can kind of hear that happening here with this, with the small, with the quick strings here. Here. It sounds to me like they're switching between two modes of the virtual instruments. The short notes sounds a little disconnected from the long notes. Of course, we'll probably discover this is a real orchestra after all. I'm overanalyzing this, but it's the way my ear kind of works, because I try to make virtual instruments sound realer all the time. I'm not particularly good at it, but I kind of developing an ear for the kinds of transitions. Yeah, this is very clear. It's very good though. It's a very good mock-up. You can hear the brass is just a little bit too tight and too together. Like if you genuinely have like 16 brass players, they're not always super tight on the grid. And a virtual instrument is more tight, and you have to spend a lot of time and energy to make it sound less tight, to make it sound more human, and that's very difficult. So that's the kind of thing, like the overall sound quality is super believable, and they did a much better job than I ever could. And it's completely like, this is good enough to listen to and to be amazed by. But to me, it feels like just a few percentage points are still missing that you can't really get unless you start like obsessing over it in an unhealthy way. Perhaps there's people who can make a virtual orchestra sound indistinguishable, but that's like hours and hours and hours of painstaking and annoying work that probably nobody will hear. So yeah. Usually you can tell quickly if it's a real orchestra. But it doesn't really matter, right? As long as the message gets across, that's the most important thing. Particularly if you mix a few real instruments into the virtual instruments, that always works very well. Amber Dragon says, I cried twice in Silksong and both were in Act 3. Yeah. Oh, man. Talking about crying, right? Powerful stuff. I never did a piano arrangement. I did a choir arrangement in the week that I broke my elbow, because it was like, I wanted to do a piano arrangement of this. I can't play the piano. I'm making a choir arrangement. So might still have to do that one day. Monterey says, from someone who is old enough to be your mother, I appreciate your playing the Nintendo music. Keep at it. Thank you, Monterey. Yes, my mother never really approved. So I'm glad to hear that. Now that I'm making a living doing this, she approves, right? But that's not... I should have been more, respectfully saying to her, I'm just gonna do this. You have your opinion, I have mine. But, oh well, that's a different story entirely. Smash Highlight says, virtual orchestras are forever ruined for me. Yes and no. As in, I agree and I don't agree. As in, I agree, but it doesn't have to be ruined for me personally, at least, because Silksong doesn't have a real orchestra, and it's one of my favorite soundtracks ever. So it's all about having something to tell and being able to get the point across. That's the most important things, I think. Right. Music from Frieren. I'm very curious what that is. It sounds Scandinavian or something. It's a television series from Japan. How do they pronounce that? Furiren? Okay, it's Japanese, so the music is probably really good. Let's see. Zoltrake. Okay. Oh, cool. Zyther or something? This goes really hard. Yeah, this is cool. I think I love this. Just I have to check that guitar, see if they're using the same tuning that I am. Yes. They are. Ah! Okay, this is amazing. It's actually an American composer working in Japan. He's living the dream doing like anime and video games, and he's my age. Oh no, he's not my age. He's like a month older than I am. Then it's okay. Maybe in a month, maybe in a month I'll get there. No, it's fine. I do my own thing. He does his thing. This is really cool stuff. I'm not sure what to add to this really because it's like super fleshed out and already Celtic as bleep. It's very fun. I would need a B flat whistle for this. I could use my F whistle, but the F whistle is a little bit too I think a little bit too husky for this. So I'm using my B flat. This is a plastic one. I have to get a aluminium one day. Cool. had so much fun. I wasn't playing it correctly by any stretch, but I was having fun, right? That's really cool. I gotta follow him on LinkedIn. I'm doing it immediately. Evan Call. No, it doesn't work at investments. Apparently there's multiple of the people called that. Maybe it's not on LinkedIn. Anyway, I'm gonna check out his repertoire. No, it's not on LinkedIn. Thanks for the suggestion, Lazarus. That's something I have to check out. Love it. I love it. So I think the guitar tuning that they're using is DadGad, which is the guitar tuning that I also use, which kind of finally made it viable for me to even play the guitar. My guitar is not in this room. I had a rehearsal this morning where I play guitar in a folk band to learn to play guitar better. But DadGad has... like you're constantly having these two drone tones in your guitar. That's really cool. Get that kind of those kinds of harmonies. Cool stuff. There's so much great music, man. It's difficult to even know where to start sometimes. So I just end up listening to the same stuff over and over because that's the way I'm wired, I guess. I have definitely heard some Nier Automata music, but I didn't actually dive in that much. Tall Ghosts. Apparently, this is a known thing that I just never heard of, but multiple people know it. Dragon Smash sounds like fun. Kind of mean to the dragons, I guess. Dragon Smash Herr. Boink. And this is really cool. It reminds me of the How to Train Dragon soundtrack, but a little bit more intimate, I guess. But still very symphonic, I guess. Good luck, Monty Renee, at the Eye Doctor. Hope it goes well. So this is clearly a real orchestra. You can hear some imperfections. You can hear some things that are slightly out of tune, in particular in the brass. And you can hear that the strings are like very coherent between articulations. Yeah, really, really cool. Like the back line is just a folky guitar and a bodhrán, I think, Irish drum, and then the orchestra on top of that. Really nice. Nice. Definitely listening to more of that during household tasks and stuff when I listen to music most. Pam pam. Lazarus says Near Automata Amusement Park and The Beautiful Song are great songs. All right. Very different style, of course. Ooh. Eee. Yeah, cool. Cool track. A little bit creepy and a little bit tragic. Really cool key change as well. At a certain point, I was really surprised by the way they moved back to G minor. Right, yeah, there we go. Also, I think this is a constructed language. Works for me. Yeah, interesting stuff. Cool key change as well. It's definitely in the Japanese video game music school. So I kind of feel comfortable analyzing this. But there's a few interesting harmonic twists that I didn't expect, which is good. New stuff. Nocturnal VR asks, Tim, I'm a self-taught pianist. I've learned Rio Valley and Mifa themes and currently teaching myself your Attack on Meadow theme. I can't read sheet music, but I was wondering if you had any tips. Learning Dark Beast Ganon. Dark Beast Ganon is ooh. If you're, it kind of depends on how long you've been playing, but Dark Beast Ganon is definitely very advanced. I do not know the other arrangement, but it's probably also difficult. Attack of a Meadow. See if I can give you. Is there something specific that you are having trouble with? I'll look up the arrangement myself as well. And if there's any suggestions from anybody in the chat before I start doing something different, probably making dinner, please let me know. Tekken van Meadow. Van Boris, it's in the medley, right? It's almost 10 years, by the way, since the announcement of Breath of the Wild. No, that's the different one. This one. Boarding van Meadow. Okay, it's an A minor. That's doable. At least key-wise. I remember it being a little fatiguing to play that motif all the time. Going for around a year. Okay, you're making good progress. Aspiring Hero Games says 10 years turns to dust. Yes, next month. It's been 10 years since Breath of the Wild was announced. Lots of things have changed. He says ominously, but it's also just a lot of things have changed. Back then I was doing very different stuff than I'm doing nowadays. Nocturnal says, I think it's for me having my hands being independent from one another. I have trouble to get the right hand arpeggios. Yes. Not playing it completely right because it's been a really long time. Then you get, this is reading sheet music. How does it go again? Sorry, it's been like at least 5 years. That's annoying, perhaps. Woo! Lots of accidentals here. Then you get the Riddle Rito Village quote. I'm relearning this as well right now. It's a cool piece. Okay, what can I say about this that would be helpful? We lost your piano camera for some reason. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, sorry, I'll have to fix that because it's kind of important. Hello, piano camera? Piano camera! Come back to me. We went so well without technical gremlins. Come on, piano camera, I believe in you. Yeah, it's back. It's out of focus though. Okay. Okay. Only a temporary hiccup. It's also not aligned now. There we go. Sorry. Rip piano cam. I will give it a go. Good. I think I've did that theme in the past, but maybe hearing it a second time, I can do something different with it. Okay, what can I say about this? So, if it's about hand independence, the tricky thing is that as a pianist, you only have you have to automate sometimes one hand so you can focus on the other hand. If they're doing super different things. I remember that when doing the Dark Beast Ganon thing, I had to automate certain parts of one hand and then certain parts of the other hand so my attention could go to the difficult things. Here, of course, there's the returning motif. I would definitely focus on just being able to do that in your sleep. And you're using your ring finger for that, which is a weak finger. So your pinky and your ring finger are weak fingers. Like in daily life, you don't really use those separately too much, but in playing an instrument, you do. So those fingers can be a little muddy. So being able to really get this automated will help. So then you can focus on the left hand, which is doing lots of jumping, which requires attention, right? Then we're here. Now you have to kind of switch your attention to the right hand, because now the left hand is doing easy stuff, just hitting those A's, right? Then having to automate this for your left hand as well, so you can then focus on your right hand doing the jumps. Sorry, that's wrong. Timmermans, kom op. Beep. Who arranged this? So yeah, make sure that if you're playing this motif, you can dream it with either hand. It's very boring, but unfortunately, sometimes learning an instrument can be boring. You can try offsetting them to make it more difficult on your brain. That can be fun. And then for this, yes, muscle memory, absolutely. This is the same thing essentially each time, but just switched an octave, right? So make sure that you're making those jumps in a very clean way, and then you can just go. Dankjewel, Bas. And then you can just, if you make the jump correctly, you're just doing the same pattern every time, right? And then you have that weird little part that's going. This is. I always struggle to see the logic in this, so that's just a matter of getting that in your system. Yeah, but yes, absolutely, muscle memory for this is super important. Because you're constantly having that motif going, right? So I would say focus on that. Yeah, get it in your muscle memory. Yeah, and particularly try to feel which fingers aren't as accurate as others. It's probably for most people it's the ring finger and the pinky that are less accurate. So see if that's the case for you, and if that's the case, try to train your ring finger and your pinky in particular. So those get a little bit more articulation. This is also difficult for me to do this. But definitely the first few years when you're playing the piano, there's lots of moments where you just kind of have to fight your brain, so to speak, to get that muscle independence in there. And also, don't be afraid to go to a less challenging piece, because this is not easy stuff. Rivali's theme is very doable, right? He says, and then messes it up. Hey. Man, this soundtrack. Gudu says, the best thing to do is to focus solely on training your brain, etc. Of course, it won't be perfect at first, but will be amazing later. Yes, absolutely. If there's stuff in your muscle memory, you can just start having fun with it, right? I talked about that earlier, but I analyzed the Breath of the Wild style because those harmonies are so interesting to me, and much of getting those harmonies right is just getting certain shapes in your hands, like the fourths. It's Breath of the Wild immediately, right, with those fourths. And of course, major seventh chords. Yeah. But I can do this so quickly because it's just in my fingers, right? I can decide I want to play some colorful E flat chord, and there's like, my fingers know a few of those, and I can just kind of go by intuition which ones of those I'd like to pick. You can't make these decisions consciously. You have to have them in your body. Yeah. Anyway, hope that was helpful. Definitely word salad. Nocturnal says, Rivali's theme was the first song I ever learned because Rivali's my favorite champion. It's definitely the best song out of the Champions themes, I think. Okay, let's do the Guru Guru suggestion, the Professor Layton, and then I'll start wrapping this up. Unwound Future title theme. Is it the one with the Bandonion? Ooh, interesting question from Ben McBride about my favorite Zelda song. Okay, just a second. Unwound title theme. Yes, I remember playing that, but this is a while ago. It's an interesting track. Think. My favorite Zelda track. I'll think about it while listening to Professor Layton. Oh yes, this is the DS game with the incredible music, right? Yes. Yeah, cool. Improvisation. Ooh, yeah, this is very cool. There's also some genuine improvisation here. You can hear the musicians alternating and making variations on each other's themes. Yeah, it's really good. It's a DS game from 2010, which usually don't have this kind of audio quality. So that's very interesting. Cool stuff. Guru says, I would really love to learn the organ, the pipe organ, but yeah, I don't have one. Yeah, pipe organ is quite big in your living room. Age of Calamity Crescendo. That's one of the tracks that I didn't cover. That's true. I haven't finished Age of Imprisonment. Didn't really grab me. And also, the arrangement that I made on my channel of the main theme didn't get any traction, so perhaps I'm not the only one. Which one is that? Oh. Oh, yes, this is the first trailer music, I think. At least the same intro. Ah, I remember this. Okay, this is a different phase. Oh yeah, this is when you're in a critical hit phase, I think. Yeah, cool stuff. If I remember correctly, some of these people that worked on this soundtrack went on to do Echoes of Wisdom, and then the Age of Imprisonment soundtrack was done by a different team. Yep, might still be my favorite main theme out there, Breath of the Wild. We may never see the likes of it again, but that's all right. We're blessed to have it at all. I'm going to do some Patreon shoutouts, everybody, and then I'm going to look what's for dinner. Yeah, so this channel is supported by my patrons, very literally, because it's not really worth it from like the YouTube ad revenue or anything, but having people support me every month and then visiting my streams and other people as well visiting my streams, even though it's not much compared to other YouTube people. I'm very blessed to have an audience, so I'm very glad to have you all here. And I'm very glad to have my patrons. So I'm going to give my top tier patrons a shout out, which are Alexis, Gertini, Yue, famous from the chat, Orlu the Wolf, Singer, Wappersnor, Timmy Hoodlum, Flashing Fire, Masatoshi, Graham, Random Citizen, hasn't visited us in a while, but hope he's doing well. Lazarus, famous from the chat, Aspiring Hero Games, stopped by just now, very cool. Rio S, Patrick, Joshua, Dylan, and Jeff. Thank you all so much for all the support. Also my other patrons, other tiers, it's all, every penny is appreciated. It's so cool to still be able to do this. I've got a few more things in the works. I'm still working on the final Silksong choir arrangements. I'm working on the Celtic stuff. And I'm always on the lookout. We're nearing June, which is Nintendo Direct season. So if there's anything interesting coming up there, I will definitely jump on it as well. Oh yeah, podcasting voice. This is my podcasting voice, I guess. Hi, Totsakas. Thank you. All right, so thank you everybody for stopping by. Next week there'll be something, a video or a stream. I'm not really sure yet. But I hope you all have a great remainder of your week. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Yes, Cheeseland is quite gray again, but maybe the sun will come out soon. Yeah, thank you all. Aww. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.